Oi, desculpe por meu portuguese ruim. Espero que meu digitalese seja melhore. Hopefully that has woken up the translator and signalled a difficult half hour. Hello and welcome. I was going to talk about some of the projects that we've been doing recently in the UK, and I should say first of all that I'm not a proud man, and in the last 2 hours 4 people have asked me to speak very slowly. So if there are any problems at any stage, please raise your hand and I can slow down, and particularly I have some videos coming up that might need more explanation. So please stop me if I get going. But I was going to show you some some work that we've been doing recently, and some of the thinking that we're using at BBH in London, BBH near Gama and other offices around the world. Some of these campaigns are big campaigns, I think. Some of them are smaller, but I think all of the thinking is interesting because, as Keo was saying earlier, the market is somewhat bigger for internet communication in the UK, and there are some lessons and there's some learnings, some of them painful, that we've come to terms with there that maybe we'll see might be useful in this market. So I thought, without more ado, I would move through some of these. So the theme that I really wanted to warm to today is that the way we think of digital increasingly is that digital is both everything and nothing. And I think back to a time when we obsessed about digital platforms and the mechanics of digital were actually the time when digital felt very marginal and small. And the reality for us in the UK market is everything is digital. So now radio is digital, the majority of television is digital, your PC is digital, and in fact there are very few things that aren't digital now. So in terms of the way we organise our offices, our people, whatever, that actually we no longer have a digital department. And it's the responsibility of everybody to think digitally, and that's really been a great help for us. So that was the first part of our thinking, and I think the thing that helped us break probably away from a 3% medium into the big medium. The other leap that we found as a business that's been really useful is that when you get away from the mechanics of the platform, that actually everything is really about content. That's why we as a business are currently, we don't just think about TV advertising, but we make TV shows and we make TV channels for brands, and I'll come on and talk a bit about that. We're making books, computer games, magazines, we're making some movies, and actually by liberating ourselves from the platform and thinking about the idea and content, that was really helpful. And the third theme that I might come on and talk about a bit later is just the responsibility that is on all of us as content creators. I can see the thumbs up from upstairs. I'm slow enough. The responsibility that comes to all of us as content creators, and this is the realization that in the digital world there is no shortage of content. If you look at the amount of websites starting up every day, brand sites, people uploading videos to YouTube, you can see there is no shortage of content around. But I think what we're aware of is there is the polar opposite of that. There's actually a real deficit of very good content, and even within that, there is a great deficit of good content that is long running. So, for example, one viral film, the challenge is always, what is episode 2? I was saying this to Marcelo from Miggy earlier. What is episode 2, and how are we as a brand going to build a long-term kind of relationship with it? So those are 4 themes that I may come back to. Freedom from thinking about the platform liberates us to think about content in a much more general way. Content is very interesting because it travels across platforms. And then, there is a great responsibility amongst all of us, not just to add to the amount of content, but also to come up with kind of good content. So I was going to show a few examples, and I will build on Raphael's car example that he was showing earlier, and I have some car examples to show too. And also, Ashley showed you a dancing bear. And I promise shortly, if you pay attention, to show you something that goes beyond a dancing bear, but I'll show in a minute. That's a bold promise, but I'll come back to it. So my examples, I have some push stuff that's working in a more kind of traditional model. I have some content that pulls people towards it. I'm quite interested in new content, and we'll talk about mobile, and also about creating big content ideas and big content platforms. So the first video I'm going to show is for some work we did recently for a banner campaign for Mentos. I thought I'd show this because it was shot in Brazil, and if the voiceover is too quick, I'll come back and explain it. I think there's some volume. Yeah. There isn't any volume, so I'll explain that. If the volume comes back, that's good. This was a banner campaign that we recently did for Mentos. Mentos, very powerful blast of minty freshness here. The banner campaign worked when consumers dragged the Mentos into the girl's mouth, and you'll see the effect. So this works with the camera on top of your PC, and you'll see as you reach in to kiss the girl on the screen, she is appropriately moved. It's a very simple, functional idea that works well for the target market. We found the volume. So a simple idea that works in a kind of traditional banner structure, but again, I think is just perhaps delivering more on the kind of promise of the banner. The second piece of content is that we created for Perfetti Van Melle, the Italian client who owns Mentos. Is some work we did for a brand of chewing gum they had called Air Action Vigasol. And this is, as Ashley was saying earlier, digital campaigns now need to come with the award-winning movie to explain the project. And this is our movie again. Again, if it's too quick, I'll come back and explain it. Can we play some volume? So effectively, this movie is saying they always did very irreverent advertising.
The world has never been afraid to be different with its advertising. The challenge with this new campaign for Air Action Vigasol gum was to continue to raise the creative bar ever higher, but also to develop a property which had the potential to be a cross-platform, long-lasting phenomenon. And so, Chippy was born.
Nothing could stop the forest fire. Except maybe a miracle. And oh, how the people rejoiced.
But Chippy didn't come into the world on television. In a first for Perfetti Van Melle, the ad was seeded on a small number of targeted websites. It spread amongst the web-savvy Italian youth well before the ad had even been released on TV. Chippy's TV debut prompted an even greater eruption of interest in the campaign, with the ad popping out on websites all around the world, spawning a series of copycat incidents, and creating unprecedented levels of buzz, both online and offline, where Chippy notched up both column inches and an appearance on prime-time TV.
Arriva questo scoiattolo, l'erede moderno di Chip e Chop,
sì,
che mette in bocca una gomma da masticare, alza la coda
stai fermo,
e tram!
ci prende in giro!
Not bad for one little chipmunk. But Chippy was not just a flash in the pan that would fade once the campaign went off air. Instead, Chippy was destined to linger far longer and given a home on his own destination site, chippy.net. The site features 3 games, with Chippy flying through the forest, leaping over obstacles, and putting out fires, all with the help of a fresh air explosion. But the shockwaves of Chippy's blast of fresh air were not just felt online. Chippy has now arrived on mobile, with video ringtones, a farting beatbox, and the world's first digital whoopee cushion. Since Chippy let rip, more than 2 million people have interacted with the campaign online and on their phones. This may just have been the most powerful fart ever, with the shockwaves still being felt long after the TV run has ended, propelling Chippy and Air Action Vigasol to new levels of fame.
I don't know if that explanation was clear enough, but certainly that was my attempt to top the Dancing Bear. The campaign was fantastically successful, and I think what we found that was particularly interesting about it was that there was so much press and PR around it that consumers actively went out and wanted to find out and be more involved in the campaign. And that was a campaign that ran last year, and unfortunately I couldn't share with you the work from the new campaign, but it's just broken last week. What we decided to do is to take the bulk, and it was about 80% of the budget, below the line, in effect, if you use that language. And we decided to create Chippy as an entertainment character this year. We got Chippy an agent. We made 10 films, which 2 broadcasters are currently bidding against each other to buy the advertising films from us. So a great turnaround there. We ran the films exclusively. They were sent out by Vodafone Italy to 8 million mobile phone subscribers in Italy, free of charge. And finally, we're going into a whole range of new work. So before I came out here, I reviewed the Chippy surf shorts with a zip underneath that allows an icy blast of freshness when you're on the beach. I can take orders later if you want them. So I think it's just an interesting example of how working with important media owners and people who can drive big audience to us, like Iggy and the big ISPs in Italy, we could drive enough audience that we didn't actually need television. If we created good enough content, people would come to us. And I think that kind of thinking is something we're adopting more and more. The third example, again, is content that people pull down, and it's some work that we do for Axe. We do Axe's advertising globally. We do the majority of Axe's communications. And this is some work that ran on mobile earlier this year that we're very proud of.
Weapons of mass seduction. How the Lynx effect turns mobile phones into pulling machines. For the past 11 years, young men have been using the Lynx effect to give them an edge in the mating game. But along came social networking and a new generation of guys who talk to girls online. Even the Lynx effect can't work in cyberspace. To help this poor generation of bedroom-bound boys get out there talking to real girls, Lynx created the Get In There website, an online cornucopia of tips, tricks and gadgets to help a guy seduce the girl of his dreams. With the Lynx effect, even a mobile phone can become a persuasive seduction tool. To complement the website, the mobile phone application uses sound effects to turn the handset into an icebreaker. With the Fit Girl Finder, the phone can track down an attractive lady. And with the Lynx FX soundboard, you can serenade her, claim that you own that Porsche, check for body piercings, impress her with your sporting prowess. And being Lynx FX, you can freshen up afterwards. If you're feeling especially confident, you can be a little more forward and ask for her hand in marriage. Then, if you're feeling really lucky, like any great mobile application, it can be sent virally. It has downloadable wallpapers and you can access the Get In There WAP site. But for guys in need of inspiration, you can download hidden camera footage of the Lynx guys, characters from our website, trying to get in there with some lovely ladies.
Song readings, it's going off the scale. It's mad. It's not done this before. That's just way off.
And after a hard day's seduction, guys can upload videos of themselves using the mobile phone on the Get In There website. And if they're man enough, they can attempt the monthly challenge, where guys win prizes by submitting videos of themselves in action. Get In There from Lynx, the first mobile phone campaign that turns your handset into a pulling tool, a weapon of mass seduction.
So I should explain that Axe is called Lynx in the UK, but a very simple idea. We took the mobile channel, we created these weapons of mass seduction, as we called them. We created a sound effects board that would amuse young guys and allow them to use it as an icebreaker when they were talking to girls. And the effect was fantastic. Again, using a mobile media partnership, just as we would use an ISP on these campaigns, we were able to create content that didn't look like advertising, that guys absolutely loved. And to have a big kind of brand shift around that. So I think it was a very, very kind of powerful campaign, and I think led us to some quite interesting places next. I was going to play the next. If those were my more humorous campaigns, the next ones are perhaps more serious around car brands. I was going to play this next video, but actually I've been advised that it might be a bit difficult to listen, so I'm just going to explain this campaign. We had a brief to launch the new Audi TT in the UK. The Audi TT had been a very sexy, very cool car. 10 years on, it was a car that hairdressers and ad men drove, so we needed to make it more credible again. And so the way we did this is we went back to the original story of the TT, which was that when the designer was listening and drawing the car, he was listening to Jimi Hendrix, and that was the music that inspired him. So we took that idea of music, and we went, how would music and the car brand express itself in this new 2.0 kind of way? And the key point, I'll come back and explain this in a minute. The key thing is we thought, what we're going to do is we're going to develop a few key media partnerships to make this work. And then we're going to put the bulk of our budget, we're not going to do a TV ad, we're going to put the bulk of our budget into creating some fantastic content that people want to see. And we're not going to use the normal language of advertising. We're not going to create an end line at the end of an ad. In fact, what we're going to do is to create a beginning line, something like this intellectual property, a title, TT Remastered, in the inside, at the center of this diagram. And what we'll do with this title is we'll push it out into so many different platforms, but we'll make sure that wherever it's expressed, it has the same look and feel. And that's what's happened on this campaign. So you'll see at the top, it was what we did is we worked with new music artists, and there's a video on the pen sticks that will explain this. We worked with new music artists. We got them to take classical tracks, a bit like Audi, classical tracks, and to remix them and revoice them in a new way. So these were really kind of credible, cutting-edge bands. So we created out of this premium CDs. There was an online website, a music mixer there. We had podcasts all about the story of the creation of the music tracks with one of the leading UK music journalists. We created partnerships with music magazines, again, where there was no advertising, but there was an exchange of money, so they would create lots of content around this idea. We created events, again, where the stage had the same look and feel of the whole kind of campaign identity. We had MySpace pages, we made TV programs about it, we had banner advertising, we had etc., etc., etc. So the thing that interests me about this campaign is, if somebody was to say, what platform did it take place on, I'd go, it was truly multimedia. The thing, though, that liberated us from thinking about the challenges of those channels is that we came up with a big idea at the start, a big intellectual property, and that allowed us to work across all channels with our kind of key media partners there. And what was exciting about this campaign is actually the next year a lot of the music artists came back to us and said, what's next? Can we pay you to be part of this? And actually Audi with the media owners began to be seen as a big music kind of partner. So again, an exciting way of thinking about kind of content. So finally, my last example is going to be probably one of the most ambitious projects that we've done, and I wanted to particularly show the results and the data around it. I'm conscious I'm now the man standing in the way of your lunch, so I will be quick. But if you give me a few minutes, I'll explain what happened. About 5 years ago, our founder client, Audi, came to us and they said, listen, we have a big critical problem at the moment. We have to face, and you have to face, that car advertising, so this is TV advertising, is not working in the way that it used to. Increasingly, it's becoming very expensive for us to run big car ads to reach a few people for a short period of time. It still works, it's still important, but we have a responsibility with our agency to find new ways of kind of addressing these challenges. And when we strategically broke this down, we went, there are 4 key roles that we need to perform for Audi in and around communication. Brand building and branding, conversion, internal communication, and loyalty. And via quite a long conversation, and I won't take you through all of this, we hit upon the idea of actually, if we wanted to reach people in their living room in an exciting, engaging way, and we wanted to talk to them for a longer period of time, what we needed to do was actually to create a TV channel that would run on satellite cable, would run 24/7, 365 days a year, and would be ready for potential car buyers when they wanted to come and talk to us about it. And the more we thought about it, actually, it could perform some really key roles within the customer purchase cycle. And now I might play you just a brief video which gives you a flavour for the TV channel. I think it was the first branded TV channel in the world that we launched 3 years ago.
There's anything like on television, right? test how quick it is, obviously.
The content then runs on lots of other players, so Juiced, Blix, YouTube, iTunes, MSN, Google, a whole range of other distribution sites, and then goes on to work within the Audi business. So it's interesting that there is an interactive dimension to the television channel. You see the television channel in dealerships. You get sent the DVD through post. Integrates perfectly with the both the website and the magazine as well. So it really does become a kind of completely integrated approach to content and to kind of content distribution. And this then plays some very important roles within our customer journey here. So it's particularly important around driving interest. It's very important around customer loyalty, but it actually performs roles at other stages as well. It's a big fun project. And what's extraordinary about this, and I think Audi have probably invested about $20 million US in the project to date, is it's becoming a phenomenally successful communication channel for them. So it's interesting, they look to reach at any one point 60% of their kind of car buying prospects. And what we find is around 60% of them have watched the channel content in the buying process. They watch on average 13 times in the buying process at an average of about 25 minutes. So it really does become, with the right promotion, a very kind of important channel going forward. So my experiences of the UK market, and I'm sure they're very different to different markets, but I think some of them might be interesting, is I think just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I think the responsibility of the people in this room to create great content and to invest properly in the creative development of that content is really high, because great content will shine out in a way that other content doesn't. I think what's fascinating about the opportunities that particularly ISPs with great content and big audiences offer us is the opportunity to have, I think as the other speakers detailed earlier today, a much deeper, richer relationship with our consumers. And what I hope I showed in the examples was a way of capturing attention and pulling people through that kind of journey. I think what is exciting, and I urge everybody here to adhere to this, is that this new digital landscape allows all of us, I think, to rewrite the rules of what went before. I think it's very frustrating when you see people trying to apply the rules of the old analog world into the digital world. I think it's fantastically exciting for all of us to sit down, and I think I was saying this with Marcelo earlier, to sit down and go, listen, these are our ambitions, these are our challenges, what are your challenges and ambitions, how could we sit down and work through that together? And certainly the conversations I had with Iggy, everyone seems very open to that as well. Because in the end, the thing I know more probably than anything else is actually good work comes out of great collaborations from interesting people. And I think in this space where everybody is inspired to work together, to do better business, more successful business, and to create better content, then that is going to work for everybody. So I hope that wasn't too quick. Please excuse my Portuguese at the start. but I enjoyed sharing some of that, and hopefully there'll be some questions afterwards. Thank you.